My ego does not want to make this video. Yo, what's happening, people? Today I'm going to share with you my experience with social anxiety and some of the techniques and methods that I'm using to overcome it. This isn't an easy video for me to make. I'm actually quite embarrassed to the fact that I've got social anxiety, and I know that's stupid, but it's usually something I keep to myself and I don't like sharing with other people. So there was a lot of resistance in sitting down and recording this video, but I think I need to put my ego aside and kind of share my journey with people, because there's a lot of power that comes from being vulnerable, and actually there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the way I deal with anxiety and the way I'm overcoming it. So if I could just help even one person with their battle against social anxiety, then this video would have been completely worth it. So yeah, stick around, watch the video, find out my fucked up story and some of the techniques and methods that I've used to kind of battle against it. I had such a severe case of social anxiety that my whole life revolved around trying to avoid people. I worked in a supermarket at the time, and I remember seeing people I knew walk up an aisle and I would just completely turn around and walk the other way and go and hide in the toilets, or I would go and hide in the back chiller till I thought they left the area I was working in. And when eventually someone did catch me and had a conversation with me, I was so socially anxious that I would be doing weird shit with my hands, or I'd start doing my shoelaces up. And it was because I was so nervous that I had all this built up energy inside of me and it needed to come out. So not only could I not control my hands and I was doing all this weird shit, but I was also stuttering all my words and kind of blabbering on and not making any sense. So it made for a very horrible experience that I don't wish it upon anyone. And I was very aware that I was acting weird, and that was making me even more anxious, which was then toppling anxiety on top of anxiety. So after experiencing this for so long, I developed a severe depression. I didn't want to leave my house because it was just so draining to go and interact with people. And it got to a point where I didn't even want to be alive. I kind of debated whether should I just end it, because I've just had enough. But through maybe luck, finding the right videos, I found some self-improvement videos on YouTube, and they completely changed my life. I remember just getting a few ideas from these videos, and it gave me a little bit of hope that I could actually overcome this social anxiety and the depression I was having. And through hard work and the willingness to be uncomfortable, in the last 2 years, I've completely changed my life around. And now it's got to the point in the last couple of months where I've experienced very minimal social anxiety, probably none actually. And the feeling and the proudness I have of myself for working through this mental illness and actually sticking towards a goal and achieving it is better than anything I could have imagined. And all I want to do is share my experience and share my lessons to other people and help them get through this situation. It's crazy how with just little daily improvements and a willingness to get uncomfortable, you can overcome social anxiety and you can become that confident, charismatic person you've always wanted to be. So I'll explain now some of the techniques I've been using and show you through different parts of my journey and how I implemented these techniques to get me out of this rut of social anxiety. So before we get into the techniques, I think it's important to understand what is actually social anxiety. So in basic terms, social anxiety is overthinking about how other people perceive you. Anxiety isn't stress. It's your body's reaction to stressful or unfamiliar or dangerous situations. And this reaction manifests itself in numerous ways. It can be from fear and paranoia, or it can also be physical sensations like increased heart rate or the inability to think properly. It's your mind amping up your body to get into the fight or flight zone. So when you get anxiety, it's your mind perceiving non-threatful situations as dangerous to yourself. Therefore, it sees a situation like approaching a cute girl in a similar way to getting chased by a tiger. It amps up your body and you get all these stress hormones and get you ready to flee away from the scene. This is why when you approach that cute girl or get into a conversation with a stranger, you feel the need to get away, and your body kind of has all this energy that it needs to use. But this can also be freeing. All anxiety is a malfunction in your brain, and all we need to do is work out how to decode this malfunction and achieve a state of calmness, which is usual for the human experience. So this is where tip number 1 comes into play. Exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. This is the quickest and probably the most effective way to overcome social anxiety. When you're willing to put yourself in situations that make you anxious, and you continuously do this, you learn to adapt to your environment and kind of get familiar with being in them situations. So through repetition and constantly making yourself uncomfortable, you learn to train your brain to perceive these situations as not life or death, not something to be anxious about. Therefore, you become more and more confident every time you go into these situations, because you've got memories of going into these situations and it planning out fine. For this, you want to be strategic about it though. The last thing I want you to do is go and cold approach as many women as possible and just constantly get rejected because you're so awkward, because all this will do is just ruin your self-esteem. So the way I did this was I would set myself a goal every day to talk to one person that made me feel anxious. So this could be someone in your work, a work colleague who maybe you haven't spoke to before, or maybe someone who you walk past quite a bit but always make eye contact but never actually talk to each other, or even a girl you've been messaging and you're too afraid to meet. You can even start as simple as just saying hello to people on the street. This is a great way to kind of build momentum and start working towards the bigger challenges. So every day, just write down, speak to one person that makes me uncomfortable. And once you've achieved this, you know that you're creating experiences and you're giving yourself the knowledge that you can handle social situations. I want you to treat this as similar to a game. So think of your social skills as a bar, and every time you do something that makes you uncomfortable, every time you speak to a person that you wouldn't normally speak to, you get experience points and upgrade this skill. And eventually, if you stick with this skill, you'll be like fucking 10 prestige, mate. It doesn't take that long. All it takes is consistent dedication and actually just going towards being uncomfortable. Technique 2, journaling. Your mind is clustered with thoughts. On average, you have up to 12 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And more of 80% of these are repetitive thoughts, meaning you had these thoughts yesterday, a week ago, and even months and years ago. So if anxiety comes from a thought process and you're constantly thinking anxious thoughts, repetitive anxious thoughts, then what does this mean? This means you're going to be anxious all the time. But if you can take the time to change your thoughts and actually perceive them in a different way, then you can change your anxiety and have a better relationship and even negate the effects of it. So there's a reason your brain keeps bringing these thoughts to the forefront of your mind, and it's because it wants you to dive deeper into them. Your brain knows that overcoming social anxiety is fucking crucial for you and it's at the utmost importance. So what it's doing is bringing these thoughts to the front of your mind to kind of make you consciously aware of them and to make you understand that you need to work through them. So what journaling allows you to do is spill these thoughts out of your brain onto paper, leaving your brain with kind of more room to work out and understand the thought process that's causing your anxiety. Think of it like moving data out of RAM to a hard drive. Your subconscious, your RAM, is constantly processing these thoughts and beliefs. But what happens if you write them down onto paper and get them out of your mind, it's like moving it to an external hard drive, and then your RAM has more ability to kind of process all your other thoughts. The more you journal, the more critical you become of the way your mind works, and the more analytical you can get with some of the limiting self-beliefs that are kind of holding you back and causing your anxiety. You'll discover more limiting self-beliefs and you'll start to unravel memories that you've suppressed in your mind that are kind of tied to emotions and are causing more anxiety. All of this can be achieved through the power of just exploring your own mind through journaling. All you have to do is keep asking why. When you're journaling, always ask why. If you have a belief about yourself, why do you have that belief? If this person makes you anxious, why do they make you anxious? If going to a certain place sets off your social anxiety, why is it setting off your social anxiety? And if you're constantly asking why and kind of second guessing your brain, you start to undiscover all these, as I said before, limiting self-beliefs and memories, and all of these are cultivating to cause your anxiety. So the more you get to know yourself and the more you dive deeper into your brain, the more you can start to unlock your potential and kind of diminish your anxiety. Technique 3 is meditation. Anxiety stems from the part of your brain called the amygdala. I want you to think of the amygdala as kind of a watch out. It's constantly on the lookout for threats and danger in our environment. Without this part of the brains, humans wouldn't have evolved into what they are today. Back thousands of years ago, we was constantly in stressful and dangerous situations. We'd be chased by tigers, there'd be extreme weather conditions with no proper shelter, or there'd be other tribes who see us as the enemy and are out to kill us. So our amygdala was constantly on the lookout for danger. And when it eventually did see danger, it would send us into a fight or flight mode, which would get us ready for escaping or attacking our enemy. But living in modern society, and with how easy and safe the majority of people live now, we don't need our amygdalas to be as active. But people with anxiety experience a different reality. Their amygdala is sensing threats everywhere, even in non-dangerous situations. So with this hypersensitivity, the amygdala actually starts to grow, causing it to be used even more and actually keep on growing inside. And this is that anxiety loop that I was talking about before. This actually can just come down to your amygdala increasing in size and seeing more threats in situations that aren't dangerous. Basically, this means that your brain is seeing situations like talking to a girl or talking to a stranger as the same as being chased by a tiger. It's sending the same fight or flight response to your body and producing the same stress hormones to get you ready to fight or flight. This is obviously counterintuitive to being socially vibrant, as you lose any sense of relaxation and you're constantly in the zone of you need to escape. But this is where meditation comes in. So what meditation does, it actually directly decreases the size of the amygdala. Therefore, with the decrease of the size, it makes it less active and will actually lessen your anxiety. So the part of your brain that's ruining your life and controlling all your social situations can literally be shrunk by just taking time out of your day to meditate. How fucking crazy is that? And I don't understand why more people don't do it. This is literally a superpower in preventing anxiety, and I think if more people took time to be mindful and meditated, we would see anxiety levels fucking plummet. And the longer you meditated for, the more benefits you'll feel. You'll feel more calmer in social situations, you'll be able to articulate your thoughts better, and you'll become less judgmental of yourself and others, which will give you more empathy and a lot more enjoyment in social situations. And once you've been meditating for a while, you start to understand that this feeling of anxiety, the emotions you get and the actual physical sensations are just that. They're just emotions and physical sensations. They're just results of chemical reactions going off in your brain. So you start to separate yourself from actually experiencing that anxiety, and you become an observer of these feelings, and you can detach yourself kind of from the feelings in your body. Meditation will benefit everything in your life and is one of the most undervalued things in our society today. So if I can give you one bit of advice, it would be just to start being more mindful and meditating, because this is going to make every other technique a lot easier. It will make being uncomfortable easier because you'll be able to distinguish yourself from the feelings of being uncomfortable. You can kind of observe them. It will make your journaling better because you'll be able to be more conscious of your thoughts and be more aware of them, and you'll be able to dive deeper into your mind. and your whole life will just become easier just because you're more present and mindful. So this is literally a must do. It's a non-negotiable. Every morning for 20 minutes I make sure I meditate, and it is completely worth it. Yeah, they were the 3 techniques I've used. Obviously anxiety is a long road to overcome, and social anxiety, it's hard to live with, and sometimes you're going to get yourself down, but it's just so important that you keep on going and you don't let it defeat you, because if I would have let it defeat me, I probably wouldn't be here today. But through implementing these techniques and actually being willing to be uncomfortable, I've transformed my life around, and you can too. So as hard as it is, and I know how uncomfortable anxiety is, it's the worst fucking feeling, mate. There is nothing worse. But just keep working through it, and remember, no one's going to remember the awkward conversation you had. No one's going to remember the time you stuttered your words and messed up. They're all too worried about themselves. Anxiety can be a bit of an ego problem, because we think that the whole world is constantly thinking about us. We think that our mistakes are what everyone's talking about, and we're at the centre of the universe. Everyone's too consumed in their own lives to even be thinking of us, and this is kind of a freeing thought. So don't let anxiety defeat you. Just remember that what you're doing today, no one cares about. Keep working on yourself, keep improving your experience, and eventually you'll overcome anxiety, and you'll be able to teach other people the lessons you've learned, and together we can improve the mental well-being of millions of people if we all just compound on top of each other's lessons. I'm willing to be humble enough to actually teach our lessons. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I know I went on a bit of a rant at the end, but it's something that I hold dearly in my heart, and it's important that we all share this information with each other. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.